I'm Kira Jo, and today I'm excited to talk to you about some unsung heroes in my makeup collection. I'm filming this video after having filmed my Barbie look, which is why I'm all pink today. And if you're curious about anything in this makeup look, I did film the process and that video is already up on my channel. I got this idea because I was thinking about products that I use almost every single time I do my makeup, but that are kind of boring to talk about or to swatch and share on Instagram. I came up with a nice collection of products that I think are super useful, but they're a little boring. Like, they're not exciting to purchase, they're not exciting to see pictures of online, but they are all amazing products that help me a ton when I'm doing my makeup. As I was going through my makeup and trying to decide what tools and what products classified as unsung heroes, I started to try to organize the products a little bit so that I could share them in an order that made sense. And I was so surprised at how similar the tone is on all four of these products. I'm looking forward to swatching them on my hand so we can see how close they actually are. But the first product I want to share is a ColourPop Super Shock Shadow. So this is the shade Wattles, and it is a satin. I generally go for the really glittery eyeshadows from ColourPop. This one took me by surprise. I couldn't believe how much I loved it. The very first time I used it, I thought it was such a pretty shade. And I don't remember if I actually picked this shade out or if it came in a set or something. It's a really pretty, unassuming beige rose kind of color. And it actually is a little less brown than those other products, now that I see it swatched out on my hand. But this is what it looks like. Super simple. It's not anything fancy. It's not anything to, get super excited about. But every time I put this on my eyes, I am amazed at how effortless and beautiful it looks. It has just the slightest sheen to it, but it's similar to a matte. Because it's a cream shadow, it just looks so smooth on my eyelids, and it just makes it look like I have the prettiest, most perfect eyelids ever. Sometimes I use it on its own, other times I'll top it with something a little more sparkly, but every time I use it, it's flawless and easy, and it just looks good. It just works. The next product is a little sample size of the NYX Butter Gloss, and this is the shade Cinnamon Roll. I thought it was going to be a darker brown than it is. Because it's not super opaque and I'm usually applying it over a lip liner or over a nude lipstick, it just has the perfect amount of color, but also a good amount of sheerness. This is what it looks like on my hand. And I just love this as a perfect nude lip. It's super easy to just do any lip liner and put this on. And sometimes I don't even do anything else other than that. Sometimes I will put it over a lipstick, but it's also really nice just by itself. And this is one of my favorite lip pencils to pair with Cinnamon Roll. So here's what it looks like swatched, and I can totally see why I like those two together because they're basically the same color. This lip liner is amazing. It provides just the right amount of a contour color for my lips, and it's super versatile. I can either try to make the line get pretty dark, or I can very lightly apply it. It blends out seamlessly. With some lip liners, they're way too creamy and they slide around, or they stay put, but they're really dry. This one is the perfect mix. It just has just enough creaminess to where it's easy to draw on, but it's super long wear. It stays all day when I use it. It's not overly drying, and it sharpens beautifully. It's just a really nice pencil, and I like the color a lot. And then the last product in this little set of four that are all super similar in tone is this Danessa Myricks Color Fix, and this is the shade Exposed. I'm gonna swatch it on my hand next to the other swatches. And with this, if you've ever used the color fixes, they are budge proof, and they are also incredibly pigmented. You only need the teensiest tiny little bit of these, and they go a long way. So I swatched it next to the lip liner, and yeah, I would say ColourPop Wattles is the only one here that's kind of standing out as a different tone. The other three are almost exactly the same color. So I guess I'm a creature of habit and I know what I like. But so this, I will use this in a number of ways. Sometimes I use it as an eyeshadow and I'll just blend it out all over my eyes with a brush that can handle cream products. Other times I actually use this for faux freckles. It's the perfect tone for me if I want to just make the freckles like pretty natural looking. I've used the original Freck color and it's a little bit orange, and so I feel like I like that product as well for freckles, but so much more comes in this tube, and it's also a better tone, I think, for my skin. And then I've also used this on my cheeks. I will use the tiniest, and I mean like the teensiest tiniest bit, because it is really pigmented. Like I said, it's easy to go overboard with these, but I'll use it on my cheeks for kind of a rosy brown blush, and then it also can work as a lip color. And now moving on to a couple of other products that are a little bit different. This is the Natasha Denona Mini Xenon palette. I use this so much more than I expected to. It's pretty basic. It's just gray tones, that's it. From the lightest of the light to the darkest of the dark, and then you've got one really shiny silver and two mid-tone grays, or I guess one lightish gray and one darkish gray. But I love this palette. I use it all the time. I dip into it for my inner corner or for a base shadow, like if I want to start with just a basic light color in my crease before I blend in with dark colors. I use it all the time just for the black, and sometimes I go to it just for the grays or just for the silver. There is not one shade in this palette that I don't end up using. It's been a surprisingly good value for me to have this palette. I did not expect to use it as much as I do. Sticking with Natasha Denona, here is another product that I did not expect to use as often as I do. Fun fact, this is actually the most used palette in my entire collection if I include all the face palettes and all the eyeshadow palettes. This is the one I've used the most, and I've mostly used it for this pink highlighting shade. It works great as a blush, as a highlight, as kind of a hybrid of the two. I'll use it under products, I'll use it by itself, I use it over products. I just think the formula is really good. It will work over powder, under powder. It works great on my bare face if I don't even have foundation on. And the tone kind of matches everything. I'll swatch it on my hand next to those other products. But it's pretty basic, but also perfect for me. And it's just this swatch down here next to that ColourPop shade. All right, we're gonna go away from Natasha Denona to the cheapest of the cheap. This is the Rimmel Stay Matte Powder, and it just works. It just does what it's supposed to do. It mattifies me really well. I love that it's a pressed powder instead of a loose powder. It picks up just the right amount on the brush. It's not too tightly packed, it's not too loose. And so the brush just picks it up and it taps on just the right amount on my face to where I don't look super powdery, but I also am mattified. I have other powders that are a lot more expensive, and this really is my tried and true, the one that I go to if I'm like not sure what powder to use and I just want it to be predictable and do what it's supposed to. This is the one I go for. And I just have 001 Transparent is the shade in mine. And because it is drugstore, it does have kind of a messed up broken cap, but the product itself is great. And then one more drugstore item before I move on to other things. This is the Undone Beauty Nonzer. I think the name is confusing because it makes you think it's gonna be a bronzer, even though it's nonzer, like it's not a bronzer, but it's a highlighter. It's 4 highlighting shades, and every single one of them is beautiful. I got this because I think it was recommended by, I don't remember who it was, and I decided to give it a try. It's a little bit expensive for drugstore, like I think it was around $15, but it just has the 4 shades, and it's a super smooth formula. It looks really pretty on the cheeks. I'll swatch it on my fingers because I'm running out of space on that hand, but they're just really nice powders. I really like the formula, I like the colors. Even that purple shows up pretty well. And sometimes I mix them together, other times I just do one, but there's the colors. I'm gonna like try to blend them down a little bit so that you can see what they really look like once they're blended. Cream blushes and bronzers have really been having a moment recently, and it seems like people are just less interested in highlighters right now, but these are really good. And so if you are a person who still likes highlighter or still uses highlighter, this is a really good buy. This little Nonzer compact, I think, comes pretty close to looking like a cream product instead of like a powder. And anytime I want a highlight that's just gonna look pretty and be reliable, this is the one I've been reaching for lately. The next product I want to talk about is the Salt New York White Shade Adjuster. And I'm warning you before I show you mine, it looks very dirty. So this is what mine looks like. I thought about cleaning it off before showing it to you, but this is how mine looks. It's how I use it, and I want my videos to really accurately display the way I use makeup and normalize not having perfect products all the time. So this is the white shade adjuster. I use it all the time. I use it for my lips, I use it for my cheeks. Oh, and by the way, they have a couple different formulations. So this is the lip and cheek. I think they have one that is a little bit thicker, like a base product. But I have the lip and cheek one. And I use it to mix with other Salt New York products to lighten them. But sometimes I'll also use it, like if my lip is a little bit darker than I want it to be, I'll use a tiny bit on my lips and it will change the color and make it lighter. When I use it on my cheeks, I usually am blending other colors into it, which is why you can see here and here those other colors mixing in. And that's because I like making custom cheek colors and custom lip colors. And this just works really well. It does exactly what it's supposed to do. I might start sounding like a broken record because that's why I chose all of these products, is because they just are reliable. They do exactly what you expect them to every single time. The next unsung hero is Inglot Duraline. I love this product because it's super versatile. I can use it to make a liner, whether that's with a matte eyeshadow or a loose pigment or a multi-chrome that I scrape out of the pan. But I'll also use it sometimes just to kind of water down another formula. Sometimes with my Danessa Myricks Color Fix, I want it to be a little thinner and a little more liquidy and malleable than it is. So I'll mix this in. It also works if you have dried up products, like I think the Super Shock shadows, you can put a drop of this in it and it will help revive it. You can also use it on, old gel liners. You can put it, I think, in mascara. It has a number of uses. It's super easy to use. It is a little hard to get hold of. I think that I got mine on Beauty Bay and I went through one entire tube of it and I just got a new one. So this is my new fresh one that I haven't used that much yet. But this has become one of my staple products. Before my other one ran out, I had already ordered this one because I really didn't want to go without having it in my makeup collection. The next product is this Bake Up Beauty micellar water. And there are a number of other brands that also do micellar water, and I'm sure they work pretty well too. I have tried, I think, the Garnier micellar water. I think that's the only other one I've tried. And I think I've tried both the pink one and the blue one. But what I like about this Bake Up one, first of all, it's a good micellar water. Second of all, it actually has kind of nice packaging. I like the way it looks. I also like the way that this cap works. You kind of can push down and it fills up this little basin with the micellar water. I use this all the time to clean up my eyeshadow. If I have a wing or something that I'm trying to fix and, if I go outside the lines with my shadow, or if I apply something and I decide it looks terrible and I just want to take off that one little dot of product without having to remove the rest of my makeup, this works so well. And I know some people will use this on a cloth or on a Q-tip or something. A lot of times I'll just use it on my brushes. And I actually use it to clean off my brushes as well, because it does have that little well or that little basin. Sometimes after I do a little eyeshadow liner or something, I just want to clean off my brush a little bit and I'll wipe it in that basin and it works great. And it does sometimes leave a little bit of residue on the cap, but all I do is just wipe it off with a towel or a tissue, and then it's clean and good as new. So yeah, this is great. And this Bake Up micellar water was gifted to me, but I did not make any kind of contract or sponsorship or anything with them to share it. So I really am just sharing because I like the product and I think it works really well. And then this product, I feel a little guilty sharing because it's super expensive and I didn't buy mine. So this one I got for Skeeper's review. It's the Kate Somerville Exfoliate, which is a silly name. Anyways, it's so good. This just is an exfoliant that I use about twice a month, like every couple weeks I'll use it. And every time I use this stuff, my skin is so smooth afterwards. I do make sure to moisturize a lot after because it can dry your skin out. But as long as you don't just leave your face unmoisturized after using this, I think you'll be really impressed with the result. So I have tried a couple of other exfoliators. I had one that was from Elemis and I had one from The Ordinary. I liked both of them, but this one has just knocked them out of the park. Like, it's amazing how effective it is and how quickly it exfoliates my skin. So this one, it only takes 2 minutes. It says you can use it once or twice a week, but really I only need it every couple weeks and it does its job. When I use this, I get compliments on Instagram on my skin almost every time, like without fail. If I have used this exfoliator and I do a makeup look that same day or the next day, those are always the posts where my skin gets compliments versus like the eyeshadow getting compliments. So it's a good one, but it's really expensive. I don't know if I will purchase it once I run out, but I'm really enjoying having it. Everything else I'm about to share are kind of tools that I use rather than products. I'm gonna share these three all at the same time because I kind of use them all together. So this is my mixing palette. This is a little mixing tool. I also use it to pop my shadows out if I have single shadows, or sometimes if I'm trying to just get shadows out of like a ColourPop palette or something. And I also use it to move around all my Cliona shadows in the empty palette that I have. And it's great for scraping out dry shadow onto this palette if I want to mix up a custom shade or if I'm using Duraline to make a liner. And then there's also this little magnetic tool. It does telescope out, but I never need it to be like that. I always pretty much just use it like this. And I think I just got all of these on Amazon, but you can get them a number of places. And I think all you need to type in really is mixing palette. For this one, just type in like magnetic tool or magnetic depotting tool. This is also a depotting tool, I think. These help me a lot when I'm doing creative looks especially, or if I'm wanting to do something custom, or if I'm doing anything that involves magnetic palettes or single shadows. I love having the mixing palette because then I don't end up with makeup all over my hands, and then it wipes clean really easily as long as I wipe the products off when they're still wet. And then this little gem tool, these are actually used for crafts and for nail art when you need to pick up rhinestones and be able to like dot them perfectly into just the right spot on your fingernails. They also work really well for if you're trying to place rhinestones. Like, so today with this Barbie look, I had a bunch of rhinestones that I was trying to place. And before I had this, I was trying to use tweezers or my fingers. And it was so hard to put the gems exactly where I wanted them because they're really, really tiny. So this is just wax and you put it down on the gem, like right side up. And I was worried that it might leave little marks on the gems and not make them as shiny, but I just barely have to touch them with this. And for the most part, it just picks them up and then deposits them right where I want them. And I haven't noticed any major issues with the gems not being shiny or looking clean after using this. And then the other end is great for just like pushing things into place. So sometimes when I use the dotting tool, I'm trying not to make this end of it stick to the eyelash glue on my skin. And this, because it's such a fine point, I can just use it to tap the gem right into place. This one's a little weird and outside of the box, but Scotch tape. This is the best one that I've found. It's just the Scotch brand and it's gloss finish transparent tape is what it says on the package. But I use this if I want to have a really sharp line on the outer part of my wing. And so I'll tape it to my skin, and I'm sure you've seen other people do that technique. It just makes a really crisp line. I also use it a lot to take off gems and glitter. So when I do really glittery looks and I don't want to be rubbing that glitter on my face and possibly getting it in my eyes, I'll just use several pieces of tape to lift that right off. And it's so much easier and safer for my eyes to take off the glitter that way than to use a makeup remover or a face wash or just water. Or if I do a look that's more creative or dark or something for Instagram and I'm wanting to go out somewhere where I don't want to have, you know, a black glittery smoky eye or whatever, I'll use it to just lift off my eyeshadow, especially in the center of my lid. And it actually takes it off pretty quickly and pretty easily. And then I can put, you know, another eyeshadow on over top or just leave it as is. And so that works as just a quick, basic eyeshadow remover, I guess. It doesn't remove any of the rest of my makeup or cause anything to smudge. It just lifts off the eyeshadow. And then another little tool that I love is this NARS pencil sharpener. It is NARS, but it's actually not very expensive. I picked this one up because Jessica Braun talked about it a few times, and I decided to give it a try because I've been kind of disappointed by a lot of pencil sharpeners that I've used. And I have 3 right now. One of them is CoverGirl, one of them is NYX, and then this one is NARS. And all 3 of them are pretty similarly priced, but this one is by far the best one. Most of my pencils where I know that one of my other sharpeners will chew it up, when I use this one, it's just a pretty quick process and it sharpens them perfectly without eating the pencil and without leaving any jagged like wood shavings still sitting on the pencil. It's just a great pencil sharpener. I like how several of these items have been things that I've learned about from other YouTubers because I have watched a lot of YouTube videos over the years. These brushes are from Real Techniques. They're called the Instapop Shade Brush and the Instapop Crease Brush. I learned about these from Emily Noel, and I have also found them to be very useful. I use the larger one to do the base layer of my eyeshadow, so I'll do my primer and then whatever shade I'm using just all over the lid that's matte, I'll just dab into it with this and I pat it all over my eye and it just deposits the color really quickly. And so I love it for that. And then the smaller one I use on my outer corner or inner corner, any area where I need to be just a little more precise with the placement of the shadow. So I usually use this one with my darker shades to kind of deepen up a smoky eye or a wing or something like that. But they're curved and dense on one side, and then the other side is just kind of straight up like a fluffy brush. And so I'll use the dense side, like this is the side that I pat towards my eye. And then if I want to blend, I can use the top of the brush a little bit to blend out. And then I can also actually use the side of the brush if I want to use this side to deposit a lot of shimmer or something. Generally, I just use it for the patting method on the front, but in a pinch, I can use these for several different things. And we've now reached the final product. This is a skinny liner brush from Glisten Cosmetics. You can also find brushes that are similar to this that are used for nail art or that are in kind of like craft paint brushes. This one specifically is the Glisten No. 9 brush. And it's amazing for when you're doing graphic liner and you just need a long fluid line that looks really smooth. Even if you have a really skinny brush, it's really hard to do a nice long fluid line if the brush itself is really short. This one, because it has these longer bristles, it makes it super easy to do graphic liner or a wing. I'll use this to do a really long wing in the outer corner. I might share a picture on screen of the kind of wing I'm talking about because it's really hard to achieve with any other brush. Anytime I'm doing that kind of a look, this is the only brush I'll use. I would love to hear in the comments if you have some unsung heroes that you want to share, just things in your makeup collection that you might kind of take for granted or that you might never share with other people, but that make the process smoother, easier, more predictable, that sort of thing. And I appreciate your watching this video. I hope that you'll subscribe and come back again another time. Until next time, I'll see you guys later.